All right, welcome to the Retro Review. I'm Justin.
I'm Jessi.
Keep it with the zombie voice. That's like multiple podcasts in a row. I'm very impressed. And we are the Podcasting Dead. And we talk about a lot of stuff, particularly The Walking Dead. And we're doing a retro review series, which is where we're going back in time and rewatching them. Well, I'm rewatching them. Jessi's watching them for the first time. And Jessi, how crazy is it to think when we finish this season, you and I will be caught up with where we started the channel. We started in season 6. So when we do the season 6 premiere, like, people can listen to 2 of them. They can listen to you and me talk about season 6, episode 1, and then go back to 2015 and listen to what we thought about it then. So, pretty crazy.
I'm gonna do that. I want to go back and listen.
You should.
After we do,
Yeah.
no spoilers.
And if you enjoy looking back at old episodes of The Walking Dead, then this is the podcast for you. But before we start, I do have an announcement, and let me explain myself. You will not be getting 2 retro reviews a week going forward, but that's for a good reason. Now, patrons may get 2 a week, and that's because on Patreon, we just post the audio component. We don't do a video component. But here on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, I want more time to put into these podcasts. And when we podcast, and I've got like a day to get it together, which is virtually impossible to do any quality editing in one day because I have multiple jobs, not just 2. I've got a lot of responsibilities. And so it's really hard for me in one night to put the time that I want to put into these. So what I'm going to start doing is these are going to be moved. They're going to be coming out every Saturday after this one. So this is the last Friday one that you're going to get. And then they will be, from then forward, coming out every Saturday. And that's because I will be able to put the time into them that I would like. So we'll record one over the weekend. I'll have Monday through Friday to edit it and actually really edit it. Put clips in, put pictures, put funny effects, all of that into it. So we're doing it not to slack, but to give a better quality product on YouTube. Now, you may get 2 a week over on StreamYard and iTunes because it's just going to depend on when we record them. But so 2 a week is doable if you're just listening to them. But if you're watching them on YouTube once a week on Saturdays, I hope that doesn't make anyone too upset. I promise it's only to improve the quality of the video component. But if you're just listening to this, then, you still may get 2 a week. And like I said, whenever we record them, I literally put them straight to Patreon that night. So without further ado, Jessi, we are here to talk about season 5, episode 1. This is called No Sanctuary. It was directed by Greg Nicotero, written by Scott M. Gimple, and it originally aired October 12th of 2014. And, I'm starting to realize, like, Scott Gimple, you'll see down the road, he made some really dumb decisions, but like all the Scott Gimple hate in the Walking Dead community, he sure did write a lot of really good episodes too, though.
I think this episode is my favorite so far.
Really? That makes me so happy. Yeah. So you really like this episode?
I loved it. Everybody was so badass. Like, my mind was blown. The whole time I was like, Michonne is such a badass. Rick is such a badass. Oh, sorry for they're bamps.
Yep.
Sorry, YouTube.
Well, there goes our monetization.
This one, oh my gosh. And I love gore. So them cutting up the bodies and stuff, I loved it. You could see it in the background. It was like just enough to be like, ugh.
Well, and you saw a familiar face this episode. You got to see Sam. Remember the blonde-haired guy that was with the girl? You got to see him meet his unfortunate end this episode.
I thought that was him.
Yeah, that's him, the blonde guy, the one that like looked at Rick, and Rick kind of looked at him like, oh boy, fancy seeing you here. And then soon he got bashed and
Dude. That is crazy because when I saw him, I thought it looked like him, but then in my head, I was like, he died, so that's not him. But he didn't. We never knew.
Right.
Whoa, that is crazy. And we have pretty much the whole gang back together and even more people. Like, it's wild. And the way Carol came back, and the moment I've been waiting for, freaking Rick and Carl realized that Judith wasn't dead. I have been waiting for that moment.
Wasn't it so heartwarming?
Yes. And Tyrese, oh my goodness. I thought he was a goner, but I was wrong. He took on all those zombies and then took on the dude that was threatening him. Oh, man. I was rooting for everybody. Everybody just pulled out all the stops this episode.
They did. I love the silent acceptance of Carol back into the group by Rick. Like once he realizes she's the one that came back and saved him, he just gives her kind of that nod, like hugs or whatever. But like he's like, you're back without having to say it.
He was like, you did this? And then that was that. Oh, and Daryl? Oh, Daryl seeing Carol again. He was crying. Oh, it was so wonderful.
If you like to see Daryl crying, don't worry. For however long he's got left on this show, you'll see a lot of crying from Daryl. He turns he turns into someone that cries quite often, actually.
You know what? The one person we don't have back is Beth, and I thought it was weird that Maggie didn't ask about her.
That's true. But they're still, they just escaped a compound of cannibals. They just, so I'm sure, that will come up. But, I think they just had a lot on the brain right now. Just getting away was a big deal. But everyone's reunited. Everyone's back together, which is awesome.
It is. Oh, man. I thought Bob was going to be the one to go this episode.
And why was that? When they were going down the line and doing the baseball bat neck thing, like you thought Bob was about to get it?
I did. And then when it was happening, I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Ooh, old Glenn almost got it. Like, you're talking about Bob. If it wasn't for, wasn't it Glenn? It was Glenn, right? It was about to get the bat before the explosion happened.
That's true, but, I don't see Glenn dying right now. But Bob, I could get behind, I could see how him dying would be that detrimental to the group.
It would be.
So that's why.
Yeah, it would. Absolutely. What did you think about the termites, as we called them? What did you think about their backstory? How they weren't always bad and they didn't always do that, and then they, got taken over by these evil people, and then it's decided, hey, this is what we're gonna start doing.
It's a time. It's a tale as old as time. Time as old as tale.
I at no point though did I feel bad for them. Like, I hate that they went through that, but then to turn around and do the evil, vile stuff that they're doing, it's unacceptable. And then, so what we were talking about earlier, I didn't want to spoil it, but so I don't know that they said it on the show, but I'm pretty sure Scott Gimple or one of the writers was on The Talking Dead back when this episode aired and said that the way the Terminus group works is you come in and they tell you what they do. Of course, they'll probably feed you some human meat before they tell you, but once they reveal that to you, if you're cool with it, you get to live in the society. Okay, if you're fine with that, then you get to live. But if you come in and you're like, no, I'm not doing this, or you do like Rick and them did and fight back, that's when you become cattle. So you go with it or you get eaten, one of the two. So they don't kill necessarily everyone who comes through there. They just kill, which still is probably the majority of people that come through there. They kill the ones that don't get down with their way of life.
I wondered about that.
Because I said, I don't think they explained that on the show. I remember that being explained on The Talking Dead. But yeah, so more or less, Rick's group, if they would have just ate those human steaks, they'd have been fine.
Nah, they wouldn't be fine. It would be fine after that.
I mean, like I said, I think, and Carol, man, just so like G.I. Jane with this. Like, I mean, the mud, gut, blood face, and the poncho, and the firework, and the gun, and oh man.
And she straight up, like, she told that dude that there was a herd coming and she was going to need them to help her. And it's just like the strategy this woman had was really working. It really worked. Like, she really thought this out. Like, she knew what was going to happen. And she used everything she had available to her advantage. Like,
oh, yeah.
Carol, I love Carol. I love me some Carol.
Oh, yeah. Carol has become a very capable survivor.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's become quite a bad A. She's turned from the meek little field mouse to the just complete bamf she needs to be. And I'm trying to think. I mean, it was one of those episodes. So much happened. I mean, I loved like when Rick and them got out. Like, you know, when they get out, and then like I like how they had that group walking by them, and then they take one of the guns and mow them down. And then I love that scene where like Rick's hiding behind the barrel and the walker comes up behind him and Daryl stabs the walker, and they're just like, yeah, which really in their code was love you, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I was my daughter was actually asleep in the same room as I was. And when I was watching this, so like I yelled one time in excitement, and then I was like, oh, so the whole time, like time I went to like yell something, I had my legs up in the air, and I was like, but like especially when Rick did that, when he jumped out and like took that dude's gun and just shot them all, like everybody was so good.
And I love Rick's like bad A liner too, where he tells the guy when he's like, you know, when Gareth asked him like what was in the bag, and Rick's like, a couple of this, couple of that, a 44 Magnum, there's a machete with a red handle, that's what I'm gonna kill you with. I was like, yeah. I remember when that aired, I was like, I like cocky Rick, man. I like this confident, because that honestly, that to me sounds like something Shane would have said if he were there and in Rick's position. Like, I feel like,
yeah,
you know, a battle-hardened Shane would have had that confidence. I know Shane was more of like the, you know, it's really a toss-up of if Shane would have been like, let's run away from it or let's fight it. But I think a Shane that had been through as much as Rick had been through, I don't know. I feel like that confidence and his ability to inflict horrible violence on another human being comes at least somewhat from Shane. And I love it.
He amped it up when he bit that dude's jugular out, so it can only go uphill from here.
I like when he tells them too, as they're running through, like when they escape, they're running through and they see all the bodies hanging and butchered and everything, and he's like, you know, kill any of these people on sight. Like, you know, we can't let these people live. Like, just straight up, these people are awful people. We're doing the world a favor by killing them. So, like, if you see them, kill them. But the dude that Rick stabbed, I love, like, the way that foreshadowing this episode, how you know, how they were all in the train car and they were all, like, getting their weapons ready or whatever. And you see Rick with the little, like, bead necklace sawing off that, you know, piece of wood. And I love how after they take them out, it pans back to that trim or whatever, and you notice there's a chunk of wood missing out of it. Like, you know, Rick's got his steak, and I love it when he just like that they're talking or whatever, and Rick just stands up and gets him. Just,
you know what I love? I love this is like a total Daryl moment, because Daryl would, but like when they are walking through that room with the bodies hanging, and everybody, like, I think, was it Rick that picked up a knife, or somebody picked up a knife, and like I'm sure there was plenty of other knives in there, but Daryl decides to just break a steel pole off of something, like, but he made it look so easy, but I know it wasn't. You know, he could have just picked up a knife.
Look, Rick, I'm so strong.
Right. He's like, back together again.
I love you, Rick.
Love you so much.
You've got the gang back together, minus Beth, which I hate to be that way, but I don't think it's really bothering anyone at this point in this series.
It doesn't seem like it. No.
I remember there being like, all of us wondering like, okay, where is Beth? But if I don't find out, I'm okay with it. Like, maybe she just went off to pursue her singing career and they wrote her off the show. Who knows?
No, I need to know. Oh, I just remembered. Morgan is back.
I know, and he's got the dopest mask.
For no reason.
Yeah, I don't think that mask is necessary in a practical sense, but from a stylistic sense, it looks pretty dope.
It looks scary. Is he meant to be scary?
I don't know.
You know what?
Is Morgan
Why did he leave?
Is Morgan evil now?
Maybe, because the zombie apocalypse will change a person. But he didn't off himself. Which
That's
he said
true.
He wanted to, but he decided to leave instead. I wonder why. Like, what happened? He had a really good setup.
He did have a really good setup, but he's left it. So is he clear? Is he clear-minded now? Is he evil? Is he? Because he's clearly on the trail of our gang. So what's he trailing them for? Lots of questions.
He probably missed Rick, and he was like, "I'm gonna go find him."
Don't we all? I feel his pain.
Probably it.
I feel his pain whenever there's a episode where there's no Rick. I'm just the whole time, just sad and just wondering like, where's Rick?
And then the episode is over, and you're like, well, that was a waste.
Yep. And then the next episode comes on, and there's no Rick, and I'm just like,
don't care.
Exactly.
Exactly. And that's a future person on The Walking Dead.
Shut the front door.
Yep. But you don't know who.
He looks funny. Is he funny?
He can be. He can be. What did you think about Tyrese with that douchebag and the baby? Like that was when they did that, they filmed. So when they filmed that, I watched this on the Talking Dead, I guess, or behind the scenes. But like the hands, like when he acts like he's gonna break the baby's neck or whatever, those hands are actually the baby's parents' hands because you don't want. A newborn baby, you don't want like even an actor or stranger doing that. So when they filmed the close up of the hands, that was actually like the parents' hands, like doing that just to be safe with the baby.
That is a fun fact. I like that.
Yep. But yeah, what do you think, man? Tyrese just like, the poor dude just does not want to choose violence, but this world will not let him escape it.
I know. But you know what? He chose violence when it counted.
Right, because in this world, sometimes you just got to choose violence. Like when someone's trying to snap a baby's neck, like you got to choose violence.
Like, what are you gaining by doing that? Like, that don't make any sense. Also, the way that dude was chewing his gum was really getting on my nerves.
Dude, right? Like I thought the same thing the whole episode, man. He's just like, and like, oh my God, man. Like, I know it's the apocalypse, but like, close your lips.
And that gum is probably old.
Oh yeah. I bet you gum. I bet you all gum. Remember what was that brand of gum with the zebra on it?
Zebra.
The fruit stripes or whatever. Like it was delicious for about like 10 seconds. And then you had no more flavor in that stick of gum. I bet you all gum is like that in the apocalypse.
Probably. Yeah,
I don't know. What's the shelf life on gum? I mean, should I add that to my stockpile? Because, I've got my little emergency stash over there in case there's ever an emergency. And in it, I've got like hygiene stuff like toothpaste and deodorant and stuff. Because you don't want to be stinking in the apocalypse no longer than you have to. So it's like, should I start adding gum to that pile too?
Unless you're Daryl.
I think Daryl probably smells atrocious. Like
Daryl, like he wants to stink.
Yeah, Daryl's like, let me borrow your bad breath so I can use it to rinse my mouth with more bad breath.
Ew, Justin, that was really gross.
If you got a fart, bring it over here and do it on my vest. Is that? Oh, I'm surprised there aren't like the scenes of Daryl taking like mud baths.
Oh, I wish.
Like they're running from walkers, and then it's just like Daryl, will you get out of the mud? It feels so good, Rick.
When the zombie apocalypse happened, he was like, perfect. I never have to shower again. Not that I ever did before, but nobody will give me crap about it.
I bathe in motor oil.
That's my cologne.
So what did you, you love the episode. So what are you going to rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 5? What kind of a rating do we give it? Give it a solid 5. This is a landmark episode. You'll never forget it. Everyone, it was like, I want to say it was universally loved. I don't remember anybody really hating on this episode when it came out. It was phenomenal, top to bottom, action, suspense. I mean, there's some moments there where you really think one of our people are about to be gone. And we've got the gang back together, minus Beth, but essentially the gang's back together. So... we'll be finding out some about Beth here shortly, so don't worry. I know you're just so anxious about
worried.
it, so ready to get back to her singing. So
I keep forgetting about her, to be honest.
Well, like I said, it's not Emily Kinney. She just was written as a pretty forgettable character. She's just kind of there. And then it's like, here's a side character that we're now trying to make a main character. And she was never written to be that way. But I don't know. Just not my favorite. But with that said, solid episode, and you've got a pretty darn rootin' tootin' good season ahead of you now as we start into a new one. As we wrap it up.
I'm so excited.
As we wrap it up, folks, don't forget to check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/thepodcastingdead. You can also send super thanks or super chats, things like that help out a ton. Also, you can, because what you don't see, you see this smooth, polished podcast, but what you don't realize is there are about 10 minutes of technical issues there because my friend here, number one, needs better internet. Number two, needs a better microphone. So all of that helps. So, Patreon, you get these before everybody else. So if you're like listening on Patreon right now, you'll be hearing this 2 days before YouTube does, and you'll be hearing it 2 days before Spotify and iTunes and all that good stuff. But don't forget also that we will only be doing these on YouTube once a week, but that is to improve quality. That'll give me a solid week to edit, to throw in clips, to make it something worth watching. Because I feel like right now it's to the point where you don't even really watch it. You just like press play on YouTube and set it down and listen to it. So my goal is to make it a video that you don't mind watching. So after today, these retro reviews will be available on YouTube on Saturdays. But if you just listen to them and you don't care about the video, well, check them out on Spotify, iTunes, any of that, or Patreon, and you'll probably get 2 a week. But yep, solid episode. Jessi, thank you for joining us.
Always.
I'm going to work on getting you a new mic tonight, and maybe some new internet. And maybe a new breaker. Jessi's breaker tripped during the podcast, and she had to like sign back in, and like it was a whole thing. So So join Patreon so we can help Jessi get her schnit together.
Yeah.
But anyways, let me find some outro music. That is going to wrap it up for us. Don't forget to subscribe and like. It helps a growing channel so very much. I'm Justin.
I'm Jessi.
And we're the Podcasting Dead. I'll see you on Sunday for The Last of Us Episode 4 live stream. If Jessi would hurry up and get caught up, she could join us.
I've been trying, okay? I'll explain off air.
All right, well, I'm going to get that explanation. I'll see you guys later. Bye.